The tank is back from the painters. Hi, Tony here and welcome to the cave. I've been looking forward to getting this video out. The custom painted tank is back from my friends at the Paintbox. What an incredible job they've done. Let's do a quick unveil before we get on to fitting it on the bike. Now, there's a hell of a lot that goes into painting one of these tanks, and I'll take you through this very quickly. The bare aluminium tank is flatted, prepped and masked up. It's then 3 coats of House of Colour primer. It gets flatted and prepped again, followed by 2 coats of House of Colour black co-seal, 3 coats of House of Colour lapis blue pearl, 4 coats of House of Colour blue flake, and then 3 coats of UC35 clear coat. The tank gets flatted, masked for the scallops and the racing stripe, then goes on 3 coats of House of Colour Orion silver. It's demasked, 3 more coats of UC35 clear coat. It gets prepped again for another 3 coats of clear, then flatted by hand before being machine polished at the end. So that's 24 coats of paint that goes onto this. It's at this point that I now start to get a little bit nervous because I've got to get this beautifully painted tank onto the bike without damaging it. Once this is back on, of course, we'll really be able to start to see how the T100 build is taking shape. Right, so I've got some coffee on board, feeling good. Got the tank on some protective surface. All we've got to do now is get this section out and into the new tank, and from here you can see actually the straightforward connections that you've got when it goes back onto the bike. So you've got a breather pipe, a rubber hose that just pushes onto there. You've got the speed fit clip for the fuel input that goes onto there, and then you just got to plug that into the existing wiring loom. There's a little hook on the side here for you to tuck that out of the way. That's it. Other than that, you've got to transfer the rubber bungs over for the mounts. Job done. Once all of these bolts undone, then comes what is a bit of a fiddly part, which is getting this out with the pump and everything attached. So you will have to wrestle with that a little bit. And then after a little bit of jiggery pokery and a few clever twists and turns of angles, that's what comes out. So you've got the filter and the pump and everything else, the rubber seal. All that's the case then is very carefully getting that back into the opening on the new tank, getting the seal in place, getting it all tightened down, and then the tank is ready to go on once we've swapped over these bungs. One of the things I really like about these old tanks is that they are hand pinstriped, and when you take the tank off you'll find on there the initials of the person that did the pinstriping on the tank. One of the other advantages of fitting this tank over a standard tank, outside of the looks, is the weight saving. I've weighed these. The bare standard Bonneville tank weighs 11.75 pounds. This Motone tank weighs 7.25 pounds, so that's quite a weight saving. Right, I've wiped this down, cleaned it off, make sure there's no grit on there so I can turn that around and we can get going. Well, there's certainly a definite knack to that. It's not a lot of room, it's less bulbous than the original tank, so you will work it out. It's not too tough, you've just got to get it in at a specific angle and rotate it around, but then it will drop down nicely and you're there. So I'll get the bolts on this. Slight difference on this tank to the original tank. You've obviously still got the electrics to plug in and the fuel, but there's no breather. So the sender unit and pump is all nicely tightened up on the new tank. The rubber bungs have been transferred across. As I mentioned on the Motone tank, there's no breather pipe. Now that's not a problem if you're using one of the Motone caps. So all I've done is tuck the original breather hose up out of the way. Then all you're left to connect is the speed clip for the fuel hose and the electrical connector on the other side. The seat's back on now, and wow, just incredible. I think this tank looks absolutely amazing. It's going to look even better when I wheel it outside and show you what it looks like in daylight. I think the colour scheme is perfect. The design that the guys at the Paintbox went with works really well on this tank with this bike for this period. And the lettering from Neil at ProSign is quite frankly and literally a triumph. Gas cap still has to go on there, of course. We've got a few other little bits and pieces we need to do. I need to get the grips sorted out. We need to get the exhaust on and a few other little bits and pieces, but we're getting much closer to the end of this build. There'll be a link up in the top corner that'll take you through to the Paintbox website if you want to go and have a look at the stuff that they do. If you want to have a chat to them about getting some of your own custom paintwork done, drop them an email, give them a call. They're lovely people. They'll talk through your ideas with you. Oh my god, how much am I looking forward to spring. Thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.